So this is Anne Marie coming at you as the anti-HR lady. And I had some thoughts I wanted to share. And some of what I say may piss a certain demographic off. And I actually think that might be a good thing, because maybe it'll also give them something to think about. But I recently shared on my, I think I only shared it on my threads or my Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, you can follow me there as the anti-HR lady. I know I shared it on my Instagram there, and I also shared it on my TikTok, where you can follow me as the anti-HR lady, where Van Lathan recently shared a video, and this video is now being shared everywhere, but his was the first platform where I saw it. Big fan of Van Lathan, by the way. I don't think he's always right, but none of us are. I think he tries to get it right, and he gets it right most of the time, in my opinion, in terms of his commentary about race issues in America. But anyway, he posted a video of Reggie Jackson. And if you don't know who Reggie Jackson is, Reggie Jackson was a really great baseball player. He played from 1967, I believe, until in the 80s, 1980 something, 87, somewhere around when I was graduating from high school. He stopped playing, and I graduated in the 80s, and I'm now in my 50s, right? And I watched Reggie Jackson. I remember, my memory of Reggie Jackson is the Yankees winning the World Series and my father going crazy in our living room, and I didn't even know that my dad liked baseball. And I was a little kid growing up in Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to Brooklyn. And I remember my dad, and my dad to this day doesn't watch a lot of television. And I'd never really seen him pay attention to sports until the night, I don't remember what night it was, but the Yankees were winning the World Series, and my father was like so excited watching it on TV, and Reggie Jackson was making a home run or something like that. And I just kind of looked into the room to see what the whole thing was about, and it was that my dad was really excited about the game. And that's my memory of Reggie Jackson. So Reggie Jackson was asked a question about how he felt about being in Birmingham, Alabama. And I don't even know what the event was, but I guess it had something to do with the Negro League records being merged with the Baseball League or something like that. But they were in Alabama and Birmingham, a place renowned for in history for how racist its people are, and still renowned for the racist policies that its governor continues to institute, like banning critical race theory and history of, the history and a lot of the history of the wrongs done to Black people in America live in Alabama. They killed those girls in the church, Alabama, Birmingham. When people think of Bull Connor, Alabama, even I don't think he was from Birmingham, but he's definitely from Alabama. But Reggie Jackson was asked how he felt about being back in Alabama, and he gave a very honest answer where he talked about what it felt like to him. Here's a quick clip.
How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, "You think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here in Concord?" I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, "Can't eat here." I would go to a hotel and they say, "Then can't stay here." We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner, and they pointed me out with the N-word. "He can't come in here." Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, "We're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted." Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat, If I couldn't, thank you. If I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it.
And if you want to watch the rest of that, you can either go to my TikTok or my Instagram, or it's all over the internet right now. Everybody's sharing it. But anyway, he was very frank in his words and comments about what it was like to be a professional baseball player and come to the South in the time he was playing. And I want you to remember that Reggie Jackson played baseball between 1967 and I think about 1987. This is not 50 or 60 years ago. This is in my lifetime, probably 30-something years ago. These, to me, ain't the olden days. Maybe to my sons, Gen Z and the whoever's coming after them, maybe it's the olden days to y'all, but this is in my actual lifetime. The things that he's talking about happened in my lifetime, post-Civil Rights Act, post-Voting Rights Act, okay? So when I watched the video, I made a comment in Van Lathan's mentions. I don't think I made it as the anti-HR lady. I think I made it under my travel handle because I was watching it on my travel platform. And of course, if you're interested in travel for Black women over 50, follow me at baldgirltravel.com. Well, subscribe to baldgirltravel.com and follow me at baldgirltravel on Instagram, TikTok, social media, everywhere. But anyway, so I think I made a comment there where I basically said that America had not changed, that racism in America had not changed, in my opinion. Of course, it's always my opinion. And that these events were not even events that had happened 50 or 60 years ago, that what Reggie Jackson was talking about were things that had happened very in recent past. And these are the kind of historical things and events that states like Alabama and Texas and Florida and more and half of the country don't want white children to be told about. And what was interesting is that I received an overwhelming number of comments from white men, primarily, mainly white men. I think it was all white men, telling me that I was wrong, I was crazy, calling me names, because you know that's what people devolve to when they can't argue with you on facts. They devolve to calling you names. I never care about what people call me because people's opinion is just that, just their opinion. It's really none of my business, especially if I don't agree with it. But attacking me and telling me that I was crazy, and of course America has changed, and of course America is different, and you know that's our past, but we're a different country. No, you're not. No, you're not. And it was very interesting to me how committed, and it was, you know, it's not something that's new to me, but it's interesting to me how committed a certain demographic is to pretending that the past is not the present, right? And that they have to tell themselves that the past is not the present because they need to believe that they're better people than their parents were and their grandparents were. But you're not, and neither are your kids. I want to throw that in there too. Because the people who did the things to Reggie Jackson were my parents' age, right? Or maybe a little older than my parents. Reggie Jackson's closer to my parents' age. Those people had kids, and their kids are not having kids, right? Who are having kids? And they all teach their kids the same thing. And the primary thing they teach their kids in word and in deed, they may never ever say it, is that you're better just because you're white. And the operating principle of the United States of America is, spoken or unspoken, is that white people are better than everybody else. They're at the food chain. They're at the top of the food chain. And then everyone else comes under, and at the bottom are Black American people. right? And as a first generation Black American person, I take offense. And I know that if you have to work so hard to tell yourself and to believe that you're better, it's because you're not, right? And I believe that, deep down, they all know that they're not. But they are all committed to keeping this operating principle alive. And so part of it is through lying, gaslighting, and the very idea that you would come into comments of a Black man's platform where he is sharing about the history of racism in America from another Black man's perspective, and a Black woman comments, and you have the audacity, and all the Black people who are commenting are saying they agree with me, and white men in particular, the most audacious group on the planet, has the audacity to tell me that I'm crazy and I don't know what I'm talking about. Because, what could I possibly know about racism in America? Of course, your ancestors are the founders and operators of this thing, right? And you are the beneficiary and continue to make the thing keep running. But I feel as a person who has experienced it throughout my lifetime, has heard my parents' stories about dealing with it. My relatives, my friends, every Black person I know has multiple stories, not just one. We all got like a gazillion stories. We could all write like 100,000-page books, right? About our experience dealing with racism in America. But you feel that you know better than me about whether America has changed. America hasn't changed. Racism hasn't changed in America either. The thing about white supremacy and why it works so well and why I don't think it'll be eradicated in my lifetime is because it morphs, it changes, it shifts. You go left, it goes left. You go right, it goes right. It reinvents itself over and over again. And I think that a lot of white people think that because if they are not running out into the street and hanging Black people from trees, they're better people than their grandparents or their great-grandparents. And what I need you all to understand is that you're not. As long as you are not actively working to undo the system that benefits you, you're just as bad as your grandparents. The only difference between racism now and racism then is that it's more passive. But trust and believe, if they ever feel that their position is threatened, many of them will go default right into doing what their grandparents were doing. If they thought they could get away with it, they'd do it right now, right? And the way America, some of the stuff that's going on in America, I wouldn't be surprised some of them start trying it. So this idea that America has changed so much because you think you elected one biracial man who at least, presents himself to be a Black man, but he's a biracial man who has a white mama. You elected that one man president. You think all, America is different and it's better and it's whatever. And I submit that it's not. If America was a different country, Hillary Clinton would be president, right? If America was a different country, Black people would have gotten reparations already. Just like the Japanese and so many other groups of people have received in the United States. That's what you would see if America was different. America isn't different. They are still committed to the operating principle that Black people, especially Black Americans, belong at the bottom of the food chain and that they will move heaven and earth. They will blow up their entire democracy. They will try to rewrite history. They will engage in a full systemic gaslighting program to tell you that it's not. And they're not just gaslighting us, they're also gaslighting themselves, because I believe some of them really do believe the foolishness comes out of their mouth. They really do believe that the country is different. It's different because they can't just run out and get a rope. So to them, it's different. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be a physical rope. You don't need a rope to lynch a Black person. And they're have learned all kinds of different ways to do it without actually getting an actual rope. So if you believe that it's different, something is not right. And especially when a Black person is telling you, right? And other Black people are agreeing and saying, and you have the audacity, multiple of you have the audacity to say, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't possibly know what you're talking about. You know, of course it's different. Of course it's different. Different for who? Maybe it's different for you because you can't do and say things that you want to say without consequence. But the operating principles of this country have not changed, and therefore America is no different now than it was then in terms of who they believe are the most important in society and who they believe should control society. Okay? So I just wanted to get that off my chest, so to speak, because I really think that, you know, when white folks start listening to us and start giving us the things that we have actually asked for, fought for, died for, then I will believe America is different. I don't care nothing about no Juneteenth. We don't need another holiday. We need reparations, right? We don't need, you know, people to take a knee. We need you to take your knee off your neck and stop killing black people and stop letting the police kill black people and hold the police accountable. Allow them to be sued personally when they murder anybody wrongfully, right? Those kinds of things would tell me that the system is changing and is going to operate different. Until those things happen in America, America is no different than it was at the time that Reggie Jackson was talking about, or the time of Bull Connor. And you can twist whatever psychological gymnastics you need to engage in to make yourself feel that the country is different and feel that you are different, but you're not. Unless you are fighting every day and actively engaging in behavior to undo the systems that are benefiting you more than anybody else. And I'm talking to all white people, but especially white men. You aren't any different, and America's not any different. So that's my 25 cents on that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.